So this is a mental model, myopia, almost rejected Seinfeld. Seinfeld is what? Seinfeld was one of the most successful sitcoms. Sitcoms means like a situational comedy with a fixed set of characters. So number of characters are there in that comedy show. In the history, almost they did not make it to the prime time. So it means the prime time did not recognize the creativity in them, and it was a new form of a television comedy, and profoundly you can say it's different from the deeply reinforced mental models that network executive relies on the identify future programs gem. So that was an opportunity which was recognized, but not at that time, but later on. So, if we talk about the problem identification challenges, so problems and opportunities are constructed from ambiguous, means like conflicting information. So they are not given to us. So, five problem identification challenges are there. The first one is the solution focused problem. So focus on the solution by the past experience. Some problems are there, the solution is already made, right? So previously there was some problems, and the solution was made by the previous company or another company, or within the company or outside the company. They have some research or a case study, so on the basis of that they are just going to provide the solution. So that is a solution focused problem. So in this case, the decision makers are confronted by the closure of having a solution. The next one is we have a decisive leadership. So decisions are based upon the leaders, right? So it means the leaders are rewarded for taking decision, and so that they define the problems or they find the opportunities without careful assessment. So decision will be totally based upon the leaders. Next, we have a stakeholder framing. So decision makers accept the stakeholders framing. So stakeholder framing means like what are the stakeholders here? The stakeholders may be the employees or the suppliers or customer and other shareholders of the company. So they frame the situation to their advantage. So whatever the advantage will be, that to be taken into consideration by the stakeholders, and will perceive the problems, and also will perceive the opportunities, and or no issue. For example, the supplier uh, market their new product as unique opportunities, and sometimes the stakeholders uh, also offer concise evaluation or conclusion without detailed analysis. So in this case, the decision maker accept the stakeholder framing, that whatever they frame the solutions are to simplify the information overloaded. Perceptual defense means blocking out bad news. So blocking out bad news as a coping mechanism means failing to see the threatening information. Mental model. So knowledge and existing mental models blind us from seeing unique problem or opportunities. So it means that knowledge structure that we develop to describe, to develop, to explain, or even we have some forecasting or predict the world around us, and existing mental model like that blind us from seeing what are the different unique opportunities that we have, what are the different problems that can be in the future, and we tend to form the negative evaluation of things that uh, deviate from the mental model. So now we can say identifying the problem effectively. So be aware of the problem identification biases. So what are the different biases are there? So whether the organization is taking into consideration like what are the biases decisions or the discriminations. So there should not be any discriminations while taking the decisions and identifying the problems. So in this way, the problem can be identified effectively. Resist mean to stop, right? Resist temptation of looking decisive, or means when more thoughtful examination of situation should occur, right? It means more and more detailed information is required, sometimes more investigation is required. In that case, the that thing should be considered by taking into consideration, and also making and calling the meetings of the seniors and expert people in the organization. Develop a norm of divine discontent and avoid being self-satisfied means more actively search the problem or opportunities. Discuss the situation with other colleagues to discover blind spots and see a different perspective. So it means blind spots are like, for example, that we are driving, right? So there are the blind spot. So some blind spots that we cannot see. But to see the blind spots, we need to discuss with our colleagues. We should have proper communication with our co-workers so that the problem can be found very easily. Now choosing the alternative, right? So rational choice assumptions versus organizational behavior evidence. So in this case, we have on the left hand side rational choice assumptions. So that is goals are clear, compatible, and agreed upon. On the other side, organizational behavior evidence say the goal are not clear, and then in conflict and a lack of full support. The rational choice means the choice of after thinking, right, and with the facts and figures. Decision makers can calculate all alternatives and their outcomes. But here, decision makers have a limited information processing ability. Decision makers evaluate all alternatives simultaneously. So one alternative, second alternative, third alternative, simultaneously that they are going to take a decision. The last that I take example of the supplier A, B, and C, for example. So that supplier simultaneously they are taking into consideration their effectiveness and their probability of having the right outcome. But in the OB evidence, the decision makers evaluate alternative sequentially, the first, second, and third, like the sequence way. Decision makers use absolute standard for evaluate alternatives, but on the other side, decision makers evaluate alternatives against an implicit behavior. So for rational choice assumptions, decision makers they use factual information, so all the facts and the figures and statistics to choose the alternative. But in this case, the decision makers process perceptually distorted information. The information is not available to them properly. Decision makers choose highest payoff alternative, means the maximization. So but in the OB evidence, they look for the satisfaction, so satisfying. Decision maker choose the good enough alternative for satisfying. Now if we talk about here sequential evaluation and implicit favorite biases. So rational choice, if we talk about the rational choice, it means evaluate alternative concurrently, means using unbiased valence, means the satisfaction and probabilities. So what reality is, reality means like use uh, implicit means suggested, means implied, the obvious, like favorite to compare each alternative sequentially. So why decision makers follow a sequential evaluation process using implicit behavior. So if we talk about what implicit behavior means, this is an alternative, the alternate of decision maker preferences and repeated comparison against other choices. So first here is what's the reason behind why decision makers follow the that sequence for taking some decisions. So alternative sometimes not available at the same time. So what happened that we need to evaluate the earlier available choices against the best choices. It means that whatever the choices that we have among them, that we are going to choose one. Second, natural human preferences for comparing two choices. So they prefer comparing two choices than evaluating many alternatives at the same time. So implicit behavior or favorite serve as an anchor comparator against which the other choices are there. Next, people are cognitive miser, means confirmation biases. So it means minimize the mental efforts. They mainly seek evidence supporting their preferences, right? And human needs for cognitive means mental work, consistency, and Coherence means some logics or logicals. So biased decision heuristics. So rational choice that calculate alternative with the highest expected satisfaction. No doubt in each and every organization some decisions are to be taken that there should be satisfaction level should be higher, that whatever the decision that we have taken that will definitely increase the performance and satisfaction and the growth of the company. So we have some built-in decision heuristics biases. The first one is anchoring and adjustment heuristics. So initial anchor point influences our perception. So to anchors means here we can see that for example high price of an initial contract leaders anchor negotiation around that price. So whatever the high price is, sometimes they set, so around that price that we are going to play means we are going to take decision. Organizations are going to take decision around that price. What are the prices of the supplier or the goods or services or raw material that you are going to take? So all the decisions that will be according to that, right? Second is the problem solving by experimentals. So when available heuristics, estimating probabilities by how easy uh, event is recalled, even if ease of recall is also due to other factors. Representativeness heuristics, estimating the probability of something by its similarity to non others rather than more precise statistics. We take an example of like 20% of the students are in engineering and 80% are in business majors. So yet we believe that one student in is in engineering because he or she resembles the typical engineering students. Now if we talk about the problems with maximization, so rational choice like maximization is choosing the highest value alternative. So three human limitations. People engage in satisfying means the first good enough alternative. So they are just going to go for the first good enough. That is uh, the the maximum. If they say the maximum output can be generated, so they are just going to take that one. But they don't consider like what may or may not be other factors that may be in future. They can the probability that can be wrong, the estimation can be wrong by just looking at the only one side of the coin. People oversimplify the decision process. So what it means, it means they discard the alternative using fewer easily identifiable factors. They see like these are the factors and they were easy going, so they're just going to choose that alternative. So people avoid making any decision when too many choices are presented. So emotions and making choices. Emotions form preferences before conscious evaluations. In this case, emotion makers processes determine our preferences for each alternative before we consciously evaluate those alternatives. And then moods and emotions affect the decision process. Yes, sometimes we can say moods and emotions affect how carefully we evaluate alternatives. For example, we may pay more attention to detail when in a negative mood, tend to skim over like evaluating when the mood is good. So sometime that we take decision, the boss mood is different, right? Today is a good mood, so accordingly they will be going to take decision according to the mood, right? The positive or negative, but not according to the facts and figures. So that is also one of the problems that when the decision are to be taken only on the basis of the emotions. So emotions serve as information. So we listen in on our emotions for guidance when making decision, like visualize using product, right? Pay attention to resulting emotions. Intuitive decision making. So intuitive decision making means ability to know when the problem or opportunity exists and to select the best course of action without conscious reasoning. So intuition as emotional experience. Gut feeling are the emotional signals, and not all emotions or signals are intuitive. This is also true. Intuitions as a rapid non-conscious analysis. So in this case, that uses action scripts. Sometimes we can say the programmed decision routines that shorten the decision making process. So making choice more effectively, systematically evaluate alternative against the relevant factors. So don't be too decisive or conclusive. So sometimes just without looking at the other point, just the manager or decision maker going to quickly conclusion, right? Okay, that we are going to get into, or that we are not going to get into, right? So it should not be like that, but it should be more effectively by taking into consideration all the factors. Revisit decisions later when emotions moods have changed. So this is also one way, that decision which was taken before, it was the mood was different, right? The emotions were different. Now when the mood and emotions were like changed, then revisit whatever the decision they have taken, so that is also make it more effective. Scenario planning, a disciplined method for imagining uh, possible futures. So decision evaluation problems. So sometimes we face some problems in evaluation. So because the confirmation bias means post decisional justifications. So whatever the decision that we have taken, after that we are going to justify that the decision is a right that we have taken, or decision is the decision on the basis of their facts and figure, not emotions. We are going to just justification, you're going for the justification. So it means sometimes underweigh the negative outcome of the preferences and inflate the valence of the selected alternative. Means inflate mean increase, the valence means the satisfaction. So increase the satisfaction of whatever the alternative we have selected. Escalation of the commitment. If we talk about the escalation means increase of the commitment is repeating or further investing in an apparently bad decision, right? So cause of escalation. So what are the different causes of escalations there? Escalation of commitment, if we talk about, uh, the first one is a self justification effect, means have stacked their reputation on the project success. So it means escalation occurs because the decision maker try to convey a positive public image and demonstrate that their choices will be successful. And self enhancement effect. So natural tendency to think we are above average, means we are lucky, or uh, we are competent enough, right? So self enhancement is mostly non-conscious bias, and self-justifying is the conscious action. Prospect theory effect. So we experiences stronger negative emotions when losing something of value than positive emotions when gaining something of equal value. Sunk cost effect. So what is sunk cost? So sunk cost effect is like decision maker motivated to invest more when large resources already invested, means sunk cost in the project. The big cost, the big project, the machine is already bought, right? For example, and the decision maker motivated to invest more when already that investment is done. So definitely they will be just going to satisfying whatever the decision they have already made. So now sometime situation arises and how to improve decision evaluation. So we have the 4 points here: change the decision maker. So evaluation biases are minimized when those who made the original decision do not evaluate the decision. So original decision was taken by someone. Now evaluation process should be done by some another person, not with the same person. Because if the same person is going to evaluate, definitely he will be saying that the decision which I have taken, that was the right decision. Now let this work, evaluation work should be done by the other person. And create a stop loss. So mean publicly established a preset level at which the decision is abandoned or stopped or reevaluated. Sometimes the problem arises that complexity makes it difficult to identify point where abandon the project, where to abandon the project. I mean, at what particular time we need to stop that project, right? In which there should be like stop loss. How to create a stop loss? Seek a factual and a social feedback. So factual facts and figure and the social feedback is also very important, and objective information cut through the evaluation biases and involving other may notice problems sooner than when someone is working alone. Change decision makers mindset. So divert attention away from the negative emotions of the project's losses and focus more on the future, means the growth of the business. So we need to change the mindset of the decision maker in such a way that there should be something in their mind, the attitude, like positive attitude towards the growth of the organization or the business. So creativity means like creativity movement or at Bluedrop training to design a groundbreaking new idea or methods, new products. Employ at Halifax based Bluedrop training and simulation. Engage in divergent means based on the idea, lots of ideas. Thinking during shopping trips at home improvement stores. So this is one of the organizations that you can say www.bluedrops.com. So this is one of the website that engage in new idea and groundbreaking new products and knowledge. Now if we talk about the creative process model. So now creativity, so how the creativity can be evaluated, how the creativity process works. The next is first is the preparation, then incubation, then elimination and verification. Preparation, if we talk about the understanding the problem or the opportunity, this is the opportunity that we have, we should grab that opportunities and investigate information that seems relevant to the issue, what the problem is, what the problem is. Now how to solve that problem, we need to investigate the information further. Now incubation period of reflections of thought, then put the problem aside and maintain the low level of awareness, non-conscious or low level awareness, not direct attention to the issue, right? What the problem is, there is no need to go for paying a more attention, the problem is there. So what the reason of that, what's surrounding that, and what's the surrounding that problem is, what are the main reason behind it, that we need to find out, not just looking at the problem. Active divergent thinking process. Divergent means just thinking broadly. The thinking process is required in this incubation process. Now next we have the illumination. So sudden awareness of a novel and although vague and incomplete idea entering one's consciousness may include an initial period of fringe awareness. So verification is the last point in the verification process. uh, Detailed logical and experimental evaluation of the illuminated ideas, right, and further creative thinking. Now, what are the characteristics of the creative people? Some people are so creative. What are the characteristics of those people? You can find those characters in yourself as well. So I'm just going to explain now with the first one, that is cognitive and practical intelligence. Some people are so cognitive and have a practical intelligence. It like means ability to synthesize and analyze and apply some idea. Not only they are thinking, but they have a ability to implement those ideas, applying of those ideas in the organization, and also have a ability to evaluate the potential usefulness of that idea. Means that is a practical intelligence, and the first one was a cognitive intelligence. Next we have a persistence. uh, Persistence means like based upon the higher and high need for achievement and strong task motivation and moderately high self-esteem and optimization or optimum. So this is like necessary to offset the tendency of other to doubt and criticize the creative ideas. So, right, that is persistence. Next is we have a knowledge and experience. Prerequisite knowledge and experience, that is known as uh, absorptive capacity, absorbs how the information and how much that information and knowledge can be absorbed by some people. So that is also very important. Not locked into the fixed knowledge mindset, like I have this knowledge, I don't want to learn more things about the company or organizations or opportunities, right? So that is the different mindset. But some people have this kind of tendency, knowledge and experience after then uh, independent imagination, high openness to experience. Openness means that they are so open and they just want to talk to the people. They have some idea, they want to share their idea with their colleagues. And slowly and moderately low need for affiliation, and affirmation is required but at very low level, because they have so confident and have the open minded, and a strong self attraction value and strong simulation values. Creative work environment. Now, learning orientation. So now, if we talk about the creativity, if the creative work, how the creativity can be implemented, from where the creativity can be generated, how the how and when the people will have a different idea, there should be that kind of environment, right? So learning orientation, a set of beliefs and norms in which people are encouraged to question past practices, learn new ideas, experiment putting ideas into practice, view mistakes as a part of their learning process. So this is a learning orientation. Now, enriched job autonomy and task significance. Motivation from the job itself means like task significance, or autonomy means automations. Communication with the co-worker, in all the organization in which there is the proper coordinations, there is a proper and effective communication among the employees at all level in the big structure. So employees can share their ideas, they can share their informations. So in this way they can have some creative juices. Sufficient resources or job security. The resources should be enough in the organizations along with the securities. So the employees working in the organization should feel secure enough, they have all the resources so that there should not be any problem. So whenever the hazards come, they need to have some resources, the training should be provided to them beforehand. Creativity suffers during time of downsizing and corporate restructuring. So leaders and co-worker support, right? So leaders have an appealing vision of the future. Yes. So leaders are there, the seniors are there, They are just they have just leading their teams. They have they have some future in mind. They have some vision. They have a vision of for the organization. They know where they want to go, so that they will motivate their coworker, they will motivate their team in such a way they can take them to achieve the organization goal. So that is the vision, which encourage employees to experiment. So they can encourage their employees to do some experiments. If there is something wrong, they should motivate and they should say, okay, that at least that you tried and failed, that is better than not trying. So co-worker support and completion increase creativity, and all depends upon the situation. So creativity activities, creative activities. So redefine the problem is there again and again, is to redefine that problem. So revisit and involve other people's associative play. So playful activities, creative challenges, and morphological analysis. So morphological analysis means the listing of different dimensions of a system and the elements of the each dimensions, and looking at the each combinations. Mean combination permutations. Like looking at the other side of the coin. It means like you can say 360-degree analysis. Cross pollination. So exchange idea across firm, and it encourage informal social interactions in the organization. Design thinking. So design thinking means like human centered and a solution focused creative process. You can see what the design thinking is: human centered solution focused process, which depends on the creative thinking, logical analysis, empathy, and intuition. Four design thinking rules are here. The first one is the human rule. So for the human rules, we can say involve others. Other people should be involved in taking the decision and in the thinking process. Require collaboration, require co-creation among the several people. So the issue and the problem, the solutions are viewed from the different angle. Ambiguity rule: avoid problems identification too soon. Means need sufficient ambiguity in the problem and its potential solution. Redesign rule: so it means review the past solution to understand how those inventions tried to satisfy human needs, and use foresight tools to imagine the better solution for the future. Tangible rules: build prototypes and embrace learning orientation. So it means that build several low cost prototype for test ideas, and don't analyze the alternative at the purely conceptual level, and tolerate there should be a full tolerance and tolerate the failures, and embrace the learning orientation. Now, if we talk about the employee involvement, employees participation in and influence the decision about their job and work unit or organization. Several level of involvement. So now, if we talk about the employee involvement, so the first is low. The people individually ask for specific information, but the problem is not described, right? So medium low means the problem is described. Employees are asked for the just information, right? Medium to high, the problem is described, right? This is the problem which is already prevailing, and it is also explained in the organization. Employees to collectively develop the recommendations, that is the medium to high. Then high involvement means the employee identifying the problem. They are going to identify the problem by themselves, discover their different alternatives, and choose the best alternative and implement their solution. That is autonomy. So now we can say employee involvement model. So in the employee involvement model, we can say that how the employees can be involved in the taking decisions. So contingencies of employee involvement, decision structure is based upon the decision structures, source of decision knowledge, and decision commitment and risk of conflict. So on the basis of all these four factors, there may be the chances of the employees involvement in taking decision. So employee involvement is also the one thing, and if the employee is involved in some decision making, then what will be the outcome? So outcome of the employee involvement can be the better problem identification. If the employees are involved in taking decision with the employer, more and better choice generated because of the brainstorming. Then if the problem is there, they are just going to discuss on the problem, more likely to select the best alternative. There are more chances to have the best alternative and strong commitment to the decision. Now contingencies of employee involvement. So contingencies mean there may be some problem can be happened, right? So decision structure, less involvement for a programmed decision. If the decision are already programmed, so definitely there will be less involvement of the employees for taking decision. Source of decision knowledge. So more involvement when employee have useful knowledge. So if the employees are not having a sufficient knowledge, it will be very difficult to take part in the decision making process and involvement, because they don't know what to do or they have very less knowledge about that. So how they will be going to give them the solutions? It is will be very cumbersome for them. So decision commitment. So commitment to decision increases with the involvement, and the risk of conflict. Low involvement if the employee goals and norms conflict with the organization goals. So if employees goals are different and organization goals are different, just if there is a confliction in the goals, definitely there will be low involvement by the employees in the organization at the time of making decision. Moderate or low involvement when employees can't agree or preferred solutions on the preferred solutions. So if there is some confliction, so one is saying like this is the right, another one is saying this is the right, so there will be a chances of low involvement. Why to just fight in the organization? So I don't want to involve in whatever the decision that you're taking, that will be okay. So that can be the attitude of the employees at the time of taking decision.